Well, we're joined in the studio by the union's General Secretary, Aubrey Shabalala. Mr. Shabalala, good morning and thank you very much for coming in.
Good morning and thanks for having us.
Can I just start there? Why do you want the SABC board to be disbanded? This board is supposedly a fairly new board which was appointed not so long ago. What's wrong with this board in your view?
Most probably, yes. Our interest as Communication Workers Union is firstly that the public broadcaster must be in the good state of financial. We have seen this board coming in. Remember that they started as interim board, then they were added up. And in that process, there's a number of things that have happened. The finances of SABC never improved, but there were also irregular tender acquirement by the security, which cost millions of rands. Also irregular appointments of some of the staff, which are things that we've been always complaining about, and it's a continuation of such. And the latest point was that when they were looking to turn things around, the first thing that they thought of, without even looking at the schools, skills audit and other things, they wanted to cut the staff. So all those things are indications that the public broadcast was actually merely moving towards a side of being a commercialized station as opposed to be a public broadcaster, which all of us have an interest on as a public and also as a labor.
So you, like the DA, you are calling for an independent skills audit before you can effect any kinds of retrenchments?
Absolutely. The danger with that, if you just retrench, you might find that you cutting off the skill that you actually need. And you'll recognize that later on where there's no recovery to that. So first you need to know what skill you have in the institution and where do you need to empower yourself and where do you need to reduce. So all those things are needed in terms of the skills audit.
Okay, I saw a report preparing for this interview with you where you were quoted as saying you've made a strong proposal to the former and the current Minister of Communications about a comprehensive turnaround strategy. Without going into too much detail, I mean, what would that be in your view? How would the SABC manage to turn itself around? What have you told the Minister?
Well, there's a number of things. Amongst others, the first of all is the ways to talk about the funding model of SABC. Okay. But secondly, we are moving into a digital world. The fourth industrial revolution is coming in. You can't rely on the conventional broadcasting as it were. So the space in your OTTs, your Facebook, your Netflix and all of that, the SABC must find a space to compete there so that it can effectively generate profit. Those are amongst others that we talked about with the Minister.
Yeah, is there an awareness amongst yourselves as a union and your members and employees in general who are your members that the SABC is spending, I'm told, about just around 3 billion rand, if not more, on salaries for about 3,000 permanent employees. And of course, you've got the freelancers as well that you can throw into it. That if that's the case, that kind of a cost base is not sustainable.
Well, on the number of things, remember we spoke firstly about the digital transformation, where we're talking about creating more channels. Some are departmental on health, on education and others. You look into that space, we should have done that by now if it was not the political interference earlier on. And if we have moved into that space, we would have seen how do you redeploy part of the staff into this new space. Now, all of those things have not been done, and we seem not to be closer to it. And if that has been achieved, we would have been looking into that question and say, have we utilized our human resource correctly? And are we efficiently paying the staff that is doing the work that is required?
Okay, now the Minister of Communications, how has she been responding in your view? Is she really handling the issues? I'm asking this because they are the shareholder. Yes. SABC is a national state public broadcaster.
The biggest mistake of the outgoing board is that they wanted to close everyone outside, including the only shareholder, which is the government. So there was no swift, in my view, that synergy between the minister and the board to the executive. So in that, I think the minister was very firm in terms of saying, let us work together. And this is something that we want to support as a key stakeholder ourselves.
Okay, now, the retrenchments for now have been set aside from what we're hearing. Nothing is going to be happening. That sure pleases you. What would you like to see happening next in order to resolve this problem? Besides the turnaround strategy, I'm talking the short to medium term. What would you as a union like to see happening next?
Well, firstly, we want the government to intervene on the matter, firstly, or in terms of finances, because you can't put a blind eye. The fact is that there are no money at SABC. So you need that type of a bailout. But the danger with it is that when you have an institution that requires a bailout year in, year out, then we have a problem. But at this point in time, that's what we need so that we can be able to move forward.
So you want the government to intervene financially ASAP?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much, Aubrey Shabalala there. He is, of course, from one of the unions that represents workers at the public broadcaster. That's the Communication Workers Union. They are calling for the SABC board to be disbanded, and as you've just heard him say now, they are asking for the government to intervene financially ASAP.